It's mid-spring, the regular season is done, and let us start a 2-month journey to the NBA Finals. It seems both conferences have various questions, who's going where, what's going to happen, but all I know is we're about to have a lot of fun covering the NBA playoffs. The NBA crew is here, fresh faces, new ideas, and Hayden Nadler. Let's do it, boys. Let's start our postseason coverage. How are we doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm great. How
I'm
about
good.
you?
Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the
Season's
playoff.
over. I'll wait until next week. Very excited for Tuesday.
That's right. That's right. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It really is. But first, before we get into the play-ins, and we'll go through the 1 through 6 teams and have a lot of fun there, I just wanted to quickly talk about the teams that fell short, and specifically the Dallas Mavericks. And can we go with the obvious? Is it Kyrie Irving joins them and it all falls apart? I mean, literally, they were in the playoffs right before the trade. Kyrie joins, and it looks like a mess, like a true mess. We have Cuban protesting games that didn't go his way. Luka seems upset, even though he's come out and said he's not. But let's be real, there's a PR game to all of this. But in terms of the teams that just fell short of the playoffs, are the Mavs the most interesting to you? And did the Mavs fail because they acquired Kyrie Irving?
Yes, but not because of Kyrie. It's because of what they gave up. They couldn't, when they made the trade, everyone had the same reaction. Besides, oh shit, you got Kyrie and now he's going to blow your team up. But the second reaction was, how are you going to guard anybody? They gave away their one good wing defender, and they didn't really have a rim protector. And Christian Wood wasn't working out. You can't. You can win by scoring 100,000 points, but you made it to the conference finals last year having a good defense and Luka doing Luka shit. You doubled down on the wrong part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go on a little bit what he said. I mean, they gave up Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie, who were both key defenders on that team, the team that made the conference finals last year. So it was just very interesting the fact that, you're going to take away two key pieces, and the fact that, and honestly, Jalen Brunson was also a big piece even from the team that last year. He was one of their primary ball handlers and distributors last year, and when you add another player like Kyrie Irving, who's so ball dependent, with a player like Luka Doncic, there's not really that much room for the rest of the team to really get the ball, or there's not much spacing on the court. So it's like when you have two primarily ball heavy players, I mean, it kind of clogs up the rest of the system. So, I mean, their team last year, well, maybe not as star powered on the offensive side of the ball with those two, with Luka and Kyrie, definitely had more of a flow. And you saw it throughout the season, just those two ball dominant players. It didn't free up enough room for the rest of the team, so they lost a ton of depth. Dorian Finney-Smith, like I said, Spencer Dinwiddie, these were two players that really kind of helped contribute to a lot of their depth. And honestly, you see now when you have two players that play the same style of play, it's hard to make the team gel as a whole.
And look what happened. There were some ugly losses. Teams took advantage. Do we even feel Jason Kidd was able to coach these teams together? Do we give him any of the blame, not being able to find the chemistry with what they did have, what they had with what was given to them?
Yes. I don't think we really have any evidence that Jason Kidd is that good a coach. In anywhere that he's been. Yeah, it sucks losing Rick Carlson, but I don't think Jason Kidd's that good a coach. He wasn't Milwaukee took off after he got there. Brooklyn was good for one season when he was there. There's no the idea of him being he was this big guard and he can help Luka. It's the same thing they said about Giannis. That probably said Giannis wasn't the year he got there. Wasn't it the year that they were just randomly terrible and ended up with the Jabari Parker pick?
It was that year, yes.
Yeah, I don't know how much evidence there is that Jason Kidd actually is a good coach.
I mean, I wouldn't go so far as say he's not a good coach. I mean, I feel like he's a pretty decent coach. He has a 508 winning percentage. He took Dallas to the conference finals, so I feel like he's he's had some success, but the problem is it's been more sparse than sustained. You could argue that this team right now they had for Dallas was more talented than one last year they had last year, and they won 52 games. But I mean, you also oversaw last year they got overpowered by Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, like you've seen last year a couple of those times with even when Dame Lillard made to the Eastern Conference, well not Eastern Conference, Western Conference Finals with Toronto with not Toronto, Portland.
The year wherever.
Portland, yeah. When they made with Portland, I mean, you could see these teams are kind of like one and done when they play Golden State. They're just not quite as able to match up with Golden State in terms of the Western Conference Finals. You see every year a team like Denver or a team like Portland or a team like even Dallas has these 1 year runs, but they just can't seem to beat the Splash Brothers and Draymond.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. The Splash Brothers haven't lost a playoff series since 2014.
Yeah, they haven't. They've been completely dominant. And like, I mean, honestly, I'm just talking about it right now. I mean, just like I'm just concerned that the thing with Kidd is kind of going to be a 1 year deal where he's not going to be able to sustain it. Because you could argue they were more talented this year and they didn't perform. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a bad coach. I think we haven't seen enough sustained success to really kind of. I think he's still an unknown, to be honest.
I don't think he's proven that he can elevate a team. Also, the other thing is that's deeper is where do they go from here? Like, let's assume that this blatant tank job that they may get penalized for is gets them their 10th pick. Okay, so you have that, and you have Jaden Hardy. You kind of have to bring back Kyrie, right? Like what are you going to do? I mean, maybe a sign.
Yeah, which team is going to want to have Kyrie? That's yours for the keeping. Might as well. And I'm sure Kyrie knows too.
They're also saying that Luka may leave. He may want to request out of Dallas eventually if they.
Well, look, if Luka wants out, there's they're going to get a jillion draft picks.
They have a lot of cap and a lot of salary, and pretty much their entire investment is riding on these two players which is kind of scary. Like, because you see when the Nets did it. I mean, but what the Nets were able to do is they were able to get Mikal Bridges in that trade, though. But they had all their investment into KD and Kyrie, and it didn't necessarily work out. I don't necessarily agree with the philosophy that you're going to bank all your money on. The only time that's ever really honestly worked out in the NBA for a very long period of time is when the Miami Heat did it with the big three with LeBron, Harden, not Harden, LeBron, Bosh, and D Wade. That was the only time it really worked out. So, we've seen it before where they've had two great players. The Orlando Magic had with Shaq and Penny. That only lasted for a couple of years before Penny Hardaway got hurt. So it's like these superstar trios don't necessarily always work out. So I feel like in terms of they say that you could build a team by superstar because there's only 5 players on the court in the NBA, but like it doesn't really work out like that a lot of times in the NBA.
And also they were in this is like a really rare thing that happens with Luka. It kind of also happened with LeBron, where you have these guys come into these rosters that are kind of rebuilding. And they're just so freaking good that you can't do the rebuild. Like he's gonna get you, high draft. You're not getting the 1 pick unless you get lucky. So it made a little more sense for them to swing at guys. Unfortunately, everyone they swung at, they missed. They missed on Porzingis. The 2029 pick it's gonna be devastating. It's gonna be one of those picks in 2 years. Where we're talking about it is hey, this is the number 1 trade chip in the NBA right now. It's Dallas in 2029. It's unprotected. It's unbelievable. So I don't know where you go. I don't really know how strong this free agency class is that they're going to be able to get some of these guys. Realistically, if they're going to try to get somebody for Luka, OG Anunoby would have been the perfect guy to get because he would have been able to give him that wing guy who could defend. They could go small with him, and he would have been able to do a little bit more stuff off the bounce, and that would have let them keep Dorian Finney-Smith.
Sorry, you can go.
Isn't all that he's good, but there's definitely better players than him.
Yeah, we'll just see how it all pans out. Maybe a team gets embarrassed and seems desperate after the playoffs, and we'll just see how this all unfolds. But now we can focus on the play-in tournament. We'll start with first things first. So the way it works is the second year they're doing it. and with a 10-seeded bracket for each conference. So this first game, we'll talk about the 7 and 8 are going to play. The loser will then play the winner of the 9 and 10 matchup. Sorry, let me restart that. This is confusing. All right. So there's 4 teams, 7 through 10. The 7 and 8 play. The winner of that game automatically gets the 7th seed. They'll play the number 2 seed, whether it's Memphis for the West or Boston for the East. The 9 and 10 play. The winner of that moves on, and they play the loser of the 7-8 game. And obviously, if you lose that game, you're out too. Those 2 teams play each other, they get the 8th seed, and that's either Denver or Milwaukee. So first, let's talk about the most interesting play-in game. We have the Los Angeles Lakers playing the Minnesota Timberwolves on Tuesday night. Right now, the spread of this game is that the Lakers are a 5-point favorite. And we know on Sunday afternoon, the T-Wolves had quite a miscommunication, if you will. We literally see Rudy Gobert squaring up against Anderson, and Rudy Gobert is suspended. He will not be playing in this playing game. You know, respect on the morals, keeping your word, and suspending arguably one of your best players, if not your best player on the court in this game. And they're going to have to go up against a Lakers team with some momentum, but they also have their back against the wall too. Now, what's lucky about them is whoever loses will still have a chance to redeem themselves to get the 8th seed, but a lot of interesting stuff going into this one matchup. And so I'll ask the question here. Can the Lakers take advantage of the dysfunction that is taking place amongst the Timberwolves right now?
Yes. I mean, this is like the most obvious thing that the Lakers are going to run them over. Jaden McDaniels also is out for this game. He broke his hand punching a wall. So
yep.
I don't even know what they have no shot at this game. Unless Towns and Anthony Edwards combined for 100. They're not going to win this game. And it's like the only bright spot for this is you could potentially talk, I think, like the Hornets into trading for Rudy Gobert in the offseason.
Yeah,
and
he's
then,
definitely you got to get rid of that bait when you can.
But other than that, like this team is such a disaster for their season. But this is not going to be a difficult game. The Lakers, they've had the best record in the league since the All-Star break. Yeah, there's a lot of noise to that, some of the teams they play, but LeBron missed 11 games, so they're gonna win. That 2 seed is gonna be a fun matchup.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I think the Lakers are going to win that game. My concern is that, you know, when people are seeing this 7-8 matchup, the Lakers may say, oh, like they're missing Gobert, and Jaden McDaniels, the guy who just broke his hand, so they're going to see that and maybe take them for granted a little bit, because we've seen it in the past. I want to say the Timberwolves just lost a game when they were 19.5-point favorites. Was it Portland, that game recently? I want to say
it was the team. It was Portland. I saw that.
They lost to like every single shitty team. They lost to Houston. They lost to San Antonio.
So like I'm just concerned. In fact, hopefully the Lakers hopefully they're not coming in riding too high off the fact that they had a very good end to the season and don't take for granted the T-Wolves. I don't think that will happen. Being LeBron James wants to get another ring in LA. I don't personally think that's ever going to happen. But that being said, we've seen it happen in the NBA in the past, so it could be a little bit of a trap game for the Lakers. But I mean, how could you be Rudy Gobert and be that stupid and take a swing at someone or like break your hand punching a wall? That's just they're a mess. The Timberwolves, that whole organization as a whole. Just losing Tibbs, losing Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns is still the last guy standing there, but they've been a mess for the last 5 to 6 years, just a complete mess. I mean, not even just on the court, just all the off court drama they've had. They've been a complete mess in my opinion, the Timberwolves. So I think the Lakers are going to win that game, but just wouldn't shock me if the Lakers kind of made it a little closer than what we thought it would be.
You know, by the time we were speaking, the spread even they added another 3 points since I last checked. Now the Lakers are 8-point favorites into this, so it seems that nobody really It seems like it's LeBron and his team's game to lose, if
I
anything.
mean, just how could you do that if you're Gobert? Like, I mean, you're gonna get like what could you possibly think would be like good about punching a guy in the face? Like, especially when you're just
Yeah, the chest.
like what possibly good could you think could come out of that? Like, I don't really understand.
There's also the guy with COVID broke out and was coughing on the microphones and then it was tested positive a few days later. I guess he really is such a hothead and left Utah for a reason when they were really had something for a little bit. And yeah, this just seems like it's a mess that they need more people off the court to figure it out. But Hayden, you did mention how you don't think that the Lakers will win a ring with LeBron, but do you guys see any ceiling after this game, assuming they win and they'll play Memphis? Could they give them a nice battle?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think.
I think they're
I
going to
mean,
beat them.
yeah. Sorry, you can go.
I think they're going to beat Memphis. They don't have Steven Adams. They don't have Brandon Clark. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to foul out at least 2 games. Dylan Brooks is going to get suspended in 1 game because he's going to like punch LeBron in the head. I don't think that this is like the worst matchup for this Memphis team. I don't know, like they're not going to be composed. That they're missing like key guys. It's look, this is kind of similar to what happened like 2 years ago when the Lakers were the 7th seed and they played the Suns. The only reason the Suns won that series is because LeBron and AD were hurt the whole time. Because the 2 games they were healthy, they kicked the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the same thing here. I mean, maybe goes to 6, but I don't think the Grizzlies are going to beat this Lakers team. They're just
I mean, if LeBron and AD are healthy, I don't really see. I don't want to say anyone beating them in the West, but I think they have as good of a chance as anyone to win the West.
Yeah, this is the
I
most
mean,
open year.
LeBron wants another title. I mean, he has one already with the Lakers. I mean, if he wins another title with the Lakers, the case is closed about who's the greatest between Michael. I mean, not. I honestly think it's already. I've already said this numerous times. I think LeBron's the greatest player ever. If he wins another title this year with the Lakers, I think the case is closed.
So
like
you got
I do,
really.
Honestly. I really think that.
Yeah, that would be to say something leading 3 franchises to rings. Well, he did
mean,
it already. 3 multiple.
The COVID year,
no,
but I mean,
sorry.
he wins one with the Lakers. That there's not even a conversation anymore. It's not like he's the greatest. I mean, I believe he already is, but I mean, a lot of people still,
especially as a 7th seed where it hasn't been done before.
But I mean, I'm just looking at the rest of the West. Nobody in the West really scares me at all this year. I mean, Denver hasn't played great down the stretch. I mean, but I mean, we'll talk about the playoff matchups a little bit as a whole. But like nobody this year, I don't think anyone in the NBA this season is so fantastic.
Milwaukee.
I mean, Milwaukee is probably the best team I would say on paper, but I mean, I don't know. I mean,
we'll get to that. Yeah. No,
we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but
yeah,
honestly, this is something I want to say for both of them. The play-in teams in the East are basically a snore. But in the West, it's the 9-10 matchup is the entertaining one. Like this one is basically chalked, and that one's entertaining. I kind of want the Thunder. I think that would be a lot of fun. The only thing we're not getting is it's like they're not playing like.
It's too bad. It's too bad Chet Holmgren got hurt too, because they were looking pretty good with Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren looked like he was looking pretty.
He was going to fix a lot of their problems.
No, he was looking pretty good in the preseason. When they get him next year, and just like remember when Embiid was out that first year? I think Embiid got hurt one of his.
Embiid played 30 games in his first 3 seasons, so it's not like.
And then once he came into the league was a fucking beast. But I mean, hopefully Holmgren gonna be like that, where he got hurt his first year, but then comes back the next year and just dominates, because he looked awesome in the summer league.
Honestly, like when we're talking about this matchup, I want the Thunder to win, but like the Pelicans are lucky that the Mavs are such a dumpster fire, because they would be the team with the largest question marks. Because this is year 3 that Zion's been in the league, where he's played like 15 games or some shit.
Well, yeah,
he's not coming back anytime soon.
That's always his problem. He's got too big of a build. They're trying to make him thinner, but he's still a little overweight.
Right, like they would have an issue with this, and they just as a team underachieved more than anybody else. Like you could argue injuries and stuff, but Towns missed 50 fucking games.
I mean, and it's too bad, because when Zion's healthy, he's averaging 26 a game. I mean, he's a beast when he's healthy.
Yeah, So I mean, look, I don't want the Pelicans in this. I think it would be a much more fun series for the Nuggets to play the Thunder, because you get Shea
Well,
on the
too,
big stage where
they're
he deserves to be.
division rivals too, like the Thunder and the
Yeah,
Nuggets too.
he's
They're
on
in the
a big
Northwest.
stage on his best season. We get to see some Jalen Williams. We haven't seen the Thunder basically since the bubble. It's a good. I mean, they're going to get steamrolled. They may get one, but uh, I think it would definitely be more fun than this um Pelicans team where Brandon Ingram's good, but like no, it's not. It's not really relevant. And even if the Timberwolves make it, like they're going to get walloped too.
Yeah, so you guys do feel, at least from the 4 teams, 7 through 10 in the West, that it's OKC has the best chance to at least put up some sort of the Lakers. I'm sorry, that the Lakers are the team out of this bunch who can't put some sort of a fight. And you guys even think that they can even make a run at it?
That's only
Yeah,
the
I mean,
seventh.
I
I think
agree
if
with you on
it's
that. I feel like the Lakers present a good stylistic matchup for if they were to beat the Timberwolves, they present a lot of problems for the Grizzlies. Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, cool. Good stuff there. Now let's transfer it over to the East. We have the Miami Heat versus the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks started a really rough start of the season, really, really rough. And they somehow figured it out. And the Heat had some momentum, and they've had some tough matchups and losses down the stretch. Now, going through here, 7 through 8. Sorry, the 7 and 8 matchup. What do you guys like, Heat or the Hawks?
It's a tough matchup for me. I feel like personally, the Heat are slightly better defensively than Atlanta. I feel like they're a little bit more well coached in terms of Eric Spoelstra than the Hawks are. I know the Hawks. I want to say the Hawks recently. I want to say this year got rid of their coach earlier this year.
Yeah, Quinn Snyder's their
Yes.
coach.
Yeah,
They
they're
got rid
playing
of Nate
under.
McMillan.
They're playing under.
Quinn Snyder.
Yeah, they're playing on Quinn Snyder, but they got rid of McMillan early in the year, didn't they?
That's right.
Recently.
Yes.
Well, look, the Hawks are the most mid team. Like
Yeah.
it's like incredible how like
Yeah,
statistically they
so I
look
mean,
like
they're playing in their first they haven't even played a full season under Nate McMillan, so it's like I feel like honestly it could be a little bit tough for them to really adapt more to the Quinn Snyder's style of play. And that being said, I like actually Miami. I feel like Miami could give the. I feel like if I'm seeing that 7-8 matchup, and I'm the Boston Celtics, I'd be terrified of the Miami Heat.
I agree.
You got Jimmy
I
Butler. You got one of the best defensive teams in the East. If you look at the statistics, I want to say they're one of the top defensive teams in the Eastern Conference right now. They allow under 110 points a game, which is kind of crazy to me to say that that's one of the best defensive teams, considering how much our game has evolved. At 110 points per game, allowing is one of the best
shutdown.
in the conference.
Well,
shutdown.
Yeah. So the Heat have really tormented Trae Young. They're like really good at locking him up. This Hawks team is just not that good. If I'm Boston, I'm definitely worried about Miami. But there's some caveats to this. One, they have the better coach, but they have no firepower. Like they're their best guys. Like, granted, Jimmy Butler remembers how to shoot in the playoffs, so obviously that'll make a difference. But yeah, this is definitely an upset one to watch, and it's possible.
You still got Bam Adebayo, who was on the Olympic team when they won. You got Tyler Hero, who could shoot, which I'm surprised Tyler Hero is averaging 20 a game this year. He's having a really.
Well, you also have the ghost of Kyle Lowry.
You got Kyle Lowry and Oladipo, so you got two very good point guards, and Gabe Vincent too. Another guy who has postseason experience, and Kevin Love. So I feel like they're actually pretty deep. The Heat, like they're pretty.
Yeah,
but
the Heat Celtics series is impossible to predict because they could get swept, they could sweep them, or it could go to 7. There's like literally no way to tell because this team's offense is so inconsistent. And like Boston, you don't really know anymore like what you're going to get from night to night.
I mean, I love the addition of Kevin Love by Miami. I think that gives them an extra wrinkle, a guy coming off the bench maybe, who you can kind of rotate in. I love that addition personally from Miami.
Maybe the Udonis Haslam effect too.
And I mean, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see that series versus. I feel like I'm going to take Miami in that game over the over the Hawks. I would take Miami over the Hawks, but
Miami comes out of this as the 7th seed, and I think Toronto comes out as the 8th seed.
Yeah, this Toronto Bulls game, it seems like Toronto's team to win as well. Game to win.
Yeah, honestly, if
feel?
anyone gave a shit about them, they'd be one of the most disappointing teams too.
No, the Bulls, absolutely.
No,
the Raptors.
The Raptors.
The Raptors would be a disappointing team. Yeah, I mean, I heard Nick
Tell us
Nurse
why.
may not be coming back next year. They said he's kind of in limbo.
Fred VanVleet played like shit. They might be getting rid of Nick Nurse. They're the only team that really gave up a first rounder that didn't for a player who wasn't Kevin Durant. In the trade deadline.
I don't know.
And
I feel like Chicago actually is going to win. I feel like they're going to win the 8th seed. Chicago actually. I feel like they're going to beat. I actually have them beating the Hawk. I have them beating the Raptors, and then I have them beating the Hawks. Actually, Chicago.
I think the Raptors are going to beat them.
So
I think they're better.
I have them getting the 8th. I have Chicago.
I guess it depends on which VanVleet shows up, because he's been bad this year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, with the Hawks, with the Bulls, I kind of like Zach LaVine. I feel like he could get hot in a 2-game stretch. I like LaVine. I'm not as huge of a fan of their number 1 scorer, Pascal Siakam. I think LaVine's a slightly better scorer than Siakam, in my opinion. So I feel like I would give the edge in terms of their top scorer for Chicago over Toronto. I also like a lot DeMar DeRozan. He's still a proven player. Vucevic I like as their center, and I feel like they're a slightly better defensive team than the Raptors.
All right, now the spread is -5 for Toronto, and yeah, see if they could salvage their season and give some hope with that fan base. But some interesting stuff, guys. Interesting stuff. But we really like to see out of these 7 through 10 here that the Heat is the one to take it, and then that 8th seed could even for 2 franchises who have disappointing seasons, maybe have a toss up, but maybe we give a slight edge to the Bulls on this one. It seems that they are less of a mess, and they're also fully healthy coming into this matchup as well.
No, they're not. They're not fully healthy. Lonzo's missed the whole year.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, Lonzo, if I won't lie to you, I've straight up forgot about him. But in terms of this season, but yes, he's been missing all year. But on the injury report itself, there's no one else listed, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, besides Lonzo and Justin Lewis, they've actually been pretty healthy for the Bulls.
Right. So
in comparison to the rest of the teams in the East.
It'll be fun. It'll be really, really fun. Now we transfer to the weekend where the playoffs really begin. Why don't we first talk about the local matchup here? The New York Knicks are going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 4 and 5 matchup. And who would have thought this trade? Donovan Mitchell goes to Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell wanted the Knicks. Danny Ainge was not buying, didn't give what he wanted, and he gives him up to, he doesn't give him up, but he trades him to Cleveland. So this dynamic of what could have been, and it all meets up here in the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Knicks and the Cavs. What's gonna happen, guys, here?
I mean, I'll give a little bit of my insights. I mean, I'm just so sick and tired of Stephen A. saying this won't be a successful season if they don't beat the Cavaliers. He's so full of shit. I swear to God, he's fucking full of shit. I'm just putting that out there. Like, this team won 47 games. They pretty much achieved every expectation of them coming into the season. You got Jalen Brunson, who, I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to get MVP votes, but like, he looked like almost an MVP caliber player for the Knicks all year. Julius Randle's been playing well.
He transformed the franchise for sure.
RJ Barrett has been stepping up quickly, and Grimes have been playing good. I mean, this is one of the deepest teams the Knicks have had in years. They have a ton of depth just on the roster as a whole. Just everyone. I feel like they have Mitchell Robinson, who's a good rim protector. They have a lot of pieces that, honestly, I definitely do feel like they're going to give the Cavaliers some trouble in this series. I mean, and they also have Josh Hart, who they acquired, who's been great. You still got guys like Fournier and kind of
Manuel quickly could be the 6th man of the year the way he's been playing.
This team is one of the deepest. I would say it's actually one of the deeper teams in the NBA, in terms of the amount of depth they have. So they've done a great job. My problem with them is I don't necessarily know if they have that. I mean, Julius Randle, and Brunson are good, but I don't necessarily know if they have that killer number one guy who they need one guy who I want this guy taking the shot at the end of the game. I don't necessarily know if they have that in comparison to guys like the Cleveland Cavaliers who have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, who I would trust a little bit more. But that being said, in a 7-game series, there's no reason why the series shouldn't be 6 or 7. There's no reason why they can't really, really like make this a great series versus the Cavaliers.
And hey, do you still also? Oh, sorry, you're saying.
The one thing I will say about the Cavaliers is that I mean they're right now they have the best defensive rating in the NBA, so they're only giving up 106 points a game, which is I want to say about 3. It's about 3 points better than the next closest team in Miami. So that's actually pretty interesting. It's going to be It's going to be interesting to see who steps up on the next, who can score on that defense. Are they going to rely more on Barrett? I think RJ Barrett's going to be the X factor in this series because they're going to be doubling
cool.
Randall and they're going to be doubling Brunson. So I think RJ Barrett. We're going to see if he was really worth it for Leon Rose and the Knicks not to trade this guy to get Donovan Mitchell. We're going to see in this series if it was worth keeping. And I actually like the approach he did because they didn't have to give up any picks. They got Jalen Brunson for a good price and a good cost. They're not like the Dallas Mavericks where they gave up all the fucking picks in the goddamn world to get these two superstars and keep all dependent. So I actually think this approach worked wonders for the Knicks. This is the deepest team they've had in years. Do I necessarily think it's something that's going to lead to a championship this year? Probably not, no. But, I mean, this is definitely the most exciting team the Knicks have had in years. So it's nice to see that they're playing this team style of basketball. But my problem is we've seen this in the past where the Nets have had a team like this where they had a team of heart with D'Angelo Russell and Kenny Atkinson as the coach. They won like 43, 44 games, and everyone was saying what a great team it is, and that was so much fun watching them. Problem is those teams like that don't necessarily win championships and defeat year after year. So that's my concern. But in terms of who I think is going to win this series, I'd probably take the Cavs in 6 or 7. But I think it's going to be a much closer series than people think.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win. I think that the Cavs are better. I think it goes 5. I think their defense is better. They know how to close with it. I'm still not sure you can trust Julius Randle in the playoffs.
And remember, Julius is out at the moment. He might not be back until the end of the series.
How could you also say you trust Donovan Mitchell either, considering you never got past the conference finals, semifinals?
Because I've seen Donovan Mitchell win a playoff series as a rookie and then basically take a team to 7 and then, win series. I've seen Julius Randle in the playoffs like once, and he got blitzed by a not very good Atlanta team. So, I mean, look, this is like a really good test case. We haven't seen something like this in a long time when you have a player who could have been traded for the other guy play each other on a playoff series this soon.
Yeah.
I also think this Cavs team's only going to get better. At some point, they're going to figure out that that rotationary piece, that small forward guy, and Mobley's only going to get better too. And maybe they don't keep Garland and Mitchell forever because it's hard with 2 smaller guards. But maybe you
wouldn't say the Knicks are deeper than the Cavs. I actually think the Knicks may be deeper. They might have a better bench actually than the Cavaliers. That's why I think the series is going to be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, maybe. I think maybe their bench is a little closer, but your bench isn't as big a deal in the playoffs. Your bench just gets shorter, so that doesn't make as much of an impact.
Well, you don't think it is because the Knicks are probably going to double Donovan Mitchell. Wouldn't you say that they're probably going to double him or have at least a spy on him?
Okay, it doesn't mean Darius Garland's not going to Here's the thing. The guarantees that I know from Cleveland are better than the guarantees from.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
And I think if you're gonna say the Knicks built or on defense, the Cavs defense is better.
Well, the Cavs defense is the best in the league right now. Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go for what their best player has done when it matters, Donovan Mitchell, you could give him a ball and he could win you a game. We've never seen Julius Randle do that.
Like I said, I think the X factor in this series is honestly, I think RJ Barrett could be the X factor, and then we're gonna see if it was worth it for them.
Yeah,
to
well,
keep him
that's great,
over,
but I don't have zero belief in RJ Barrett because he sucked this year.
still averaging 20 a game, RJ Barrett. I mean, you can say how much he sucked. I mean, 20 a game is still 20 a game.
Not from what he was expected from.
He's a guy. I mean, maybe not quite what he was, what he was expecting him, but the guy can still score the basketball. He's not like an elite scorer, but he's someone I feel like as a second or third option, still a very good player.
Does RJ still have time to develop in his career? He's been in the league since 2019. He's only 22 years old, but do you still feel?
Of course he has time to develop.
Oh, definitely.
He's
No. Nobody's going to say RJ Barrett isn't a good player. It's just he was a guy who was drafted he was drafted third overall by the Knicks. I mean, he was supposed to be
it's just, at some
player.
point,
And he's been good, but he's not quite at the level where people thought he was, which is some guys take a little bit of time. If you saw Andrew Wiggins took some time when he was on the
Minnesota.
Yeah,
they weren't very
now he won a title with the Golden State Warriors and became one of the best defenders in the league. So, I mean, some guys just take some time. Like, I think maybe RJ Barrett is one of those guys who maybe just needs a year or two, but I don't necessarily think it was the wrong decision to keep him.
My last question here for Face is, do you agree or disagree with Stephen A. and also Hayden's reaction to it? If the Knicks, for some reason, lose this series, is this season as a whole a failure?
No.
I mean, what they're going to say is that they lost to Donovan Mitchell and that, because they should have fucking traded for him, that they lost that series because they didn't have the number one guy. That's what's going to be the storyline the whole season, which shouldn't be because the Knicks have actually built a team that has been top to bottom, is very deep throughout, and not one player shouldn't be necessarily, we're going to see. We're going to see how much a superstar is really valued, and if Donovan Mitchell is quite what everyone in New York thought he was going to be. We're going to see.
Also, we have the thing that, like, the Knicks have they're set for the offseason. There's like 4 teams that could like trade for a superstar. They're one of the teams that are like the best spot. Obviously, the dumbest thing for them to do would be trade for Trae Young. But like, maybe they're a Luka candidate.
Yeah, they could definitely manage for Luka. And
like,
I wish
have all the picks.
I wish they could get Dame.
Luka liked playing with Jalen Brunson. This would be a good fit for them. This is better than where people thought they would be.
My question is, do you think the Knicks are going to give up all those picks to get a guy like Luka? Like, do you think they're going to give up?
If they don't give it up for a guy like Luka, there's no point in having him.
Yes, sir. You're right there. It's been way too long. It's time to make a change. And yeah, I think this will be a very interesting 7-game series. My heart will say the Knicks, but my head will say the Cavs on this. They are a much deeper team. However, you cannot not be excited for the future because of, as you mentioned, the capital they have to make trades, and this team seems to be meshing well. I personally hope they trade Julius Randle. I think he's a dark cloud, and we see when he's really pissed, he'll come at his own teammates, and we don't want to see that happen in the playoffs if he makes a return to the lineup amongst his ankle injury. But yeah, only time will tell. And each game's going to be interesting after the next one.
The only thing that sucks is that because of the Mavs lost, the Knicks kind of get shut out of the 2023 NBA draft.
Exactly.
But they did that on purpose with Cuban because they tanked it so they could get the better pick.
Maybe. We don't know yet. We won't know until Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that ruling goes down. But for the other New York team, we have the Brooklyn Nets going up against the Philadelphia 76ers, the matchup that just keeps on happening in the postseason. So they somehow, some way, with Mikal Bridges in the squad, are able to qualify. They did not have to play in the play tournament, and it's pretty cool stuff for them. Then we have the Sixers, who we'll see once again, can they do it? Can they make some type of a run? Can they even get to the Eastern Conference Finals with the possible MVP of Joel Embiid. I think he's the favorite into this, but
I think that Kevin O'Connor said he's like got a 20% lead right now. Or he's
Yeah,
leading with 20%
He's
of
the
the odds or
MVP this
something.
year. He should win it over Jokic.
yeah, and Jokic hasn't been playing as well down the stretch either. I think it's he deserves it. But anyways, this team has the MVP. This team has Doc Rivers. They're playing a familiar opponent.
But don't even get me started on Doc Rivers. He's the most overrated coach.
Is there anything you think he could do? Does he have to get to the finals with this team to at least change your mind?
Yes, without a question. Doc Rivers has actually blown the most 3-1 and 3-2 leads, I want to say, in NBA history as a coach.
Yeah, that's a fact. I actually saw
only
that.
Had one title. He's only had one title with Boston, and that's when they had KG, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. So, like, besides that big three, he's lost. He hasn't made the conference finals in any other year besides that. Besides his time in Boston, besides after the big three, he made two finals with the Boston, and then he lost one conference final. So, like, when he had the big three in Boston, he made two finals and lost in the conference finals. After that, he's not progressed past the conference finals with the Clippers or the Sixers. And the Clippers, he had superstars galore, and he's had superstars galore in Philly. So it's like he's lost in the conference semifinals 3 straight years. He blew lead versus Atlanta with Philly. He blew lead versus Denver with LA.
Houston with the Clippers.
With the Clippers, he had that 3-1 lead with the Clippers. He blew that too. So it's like this guy has honestly been a proverbial choke job in the playoffs since 2011. The guy hasn't won anything in the playoffs. So I think we need to stop riding this guy's coattails off his tenure in Boston and realize the guy honestly hasn't done jack shit in the playoffs since that. And if there's any coach under the most pressure in the playoffs right now, it's him.
At least with this matchup, though, do you think they'll be able to hit on the Nets pretty easily?
Oh yeah, for this one it's gonna be 5 or 6. I think 6 at the absolute most, but I would take the
and also like to be clear, they're the better team. Like Embiid is going to eat.
Oh yeah, the Sixers are a much better team in this series.
The question is just like how close are the games. Like the game that they lose is going to be because the Nets hit like 45 threes. It's going to be some like stupid high 3-point shooting game. And Harden turns into a pumpkin. I think if they lose 2 and it's like 2-2 instead of 3-2, it's definitely going to put some pressure on them. But there was a stat that I saw today I think is pretty interesting and not great for Net fans. The players that they traded for Kyrie and KD have played more minutes as Nets than KD, Harden, and Kyrie did together.
Yeah, I mean, Mikal Bridges has yet to miss. Mikal Bridges has yet to miss a game in the NBA.
But to be fair, he played 4 seconds in the last one. Like it counts. It wasn't
I mean, to be honest, that's still a pretty good streak, though. I mean, in all seriousness.
Yeah, 83 games. I think he's like the second player to ever play 83 in a game.
Yeah, no, I mean, you gotta really like commend them.
Yeah, no, they're a nice, fun, sparky team.
You gotta commend Jacques Vaughn too. He's done a pretty good job after.
Which is crazy because Jacques Vaughn was like the worst coach in the league.
Yeah, I mean, when they had Durant and all those guys, but he's done a pretty good job because it like I said, it kind of frees them up to do a little bit more when you don't have Durant and Kyrie. There's more of like a synergy and a chemistry.
And yeah, I think this is obviously going to be the Sixers win. And when we break down the conference semis, then it'll be a really interesting discussion to see where it goes from there. And now just the other two teams here, we have the the other two teams in the East, the 2 seed and the Celtics. They are reigning champions in the East. Do you think this team, amongst all their controversy in the offseason, get a brand new coach and still seem like they haven't skipped a beat? Is this Celtics team, and we can tie this in with the Bucks conversation as the 1 seed, do you think ultimately the Celtics and Bucks are just going to wind up meeting each other in the conference finals?
No, I don't actually. I think the Celtics are going to, if they get past the Heat or they get past whoever they play in the first round, I think they're going to lose I think if there's one year where I would say that they're going to lose, it would be this year to the 76ers, actually.
No, they've had I don't know if they're going to lose to the Sixers. I think they're probably going to lose to the Bucks in the conference finals because they've killed the Sixers every time they played them. I mean, except the last time where Embiid went off, but like they're a team that's just had their number.
I don't know. I feel like finally this is the year where the Sixers finally break through, and I feel like with Embiid and Doc Rivers and Harden, they finally break through this year. This is the year I think they're going to get to the conference finals.
Milwaukee's still winning the East. It's irrelevant.
I agree with you. I think Milwaukee's going to win the East in the end, but I mean I think it's going to be Milwaukee versus Philly, not Boston.
Yeah, I think the best thing that kind of happens to Boston is they get their shit pushed in a little bit by Miami, and they like figure out their shit like so that they're ready for Philly. But I think if they cakewalk Boston, they're gonna get clapped by Philly, at least in the first game.
And we mentioned how it was mentioned earlier how the Bucks are the best team, regardless of how this all goes with this Bucks team. Do we have any more comments with them?
No, I mean, I like I said, I mean, all throughout the season, I feel like the Bucks have been the best team throughout the NBA. I feel like they've been the best team in the NBA this season. With Giannis, they still have. I mean, if you're not
everyone's healthy, the Bucks are probably going to win.
Yeah, Bucks. I would say the Bucks are probably going to win this year. But I mean, if you don't have Jokic or Embiid winning the MVP, Giannis is definitely a great third guy. Giannis has been on a tear. He's probably the most complete player in the NBA right now. I mean, would you argue that?
Yes, he still can't shoot for shit.
But
that's like a big deal.
Well, he's not a great shooter, but like in terms of like how exactly in terms of versatility, I feel like Giannis is one of the most.
Is he the most versatile player in the league? Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and the guy's still averaging 31 a game. I mean,
yeah, he had a bomb.
He's a 55. He's shooting 55% from the field. So it's like you could say he can't shoot, but like.
Yeah, but a lot of it's his paint damage. Like he's still like his overall.
Oh no, he's not a 3-point shooter. He's never has been. He's never been a great 3-point shooter.
He's not even been like a good shooter this season. Look, they did this basically without Chris Middleton for like 90% of the season.
I think one of the X factors for them is like Brook Lopez. Actually, like he's been honestly like really, he's been pretty good. Brook Lopez,
the issue for Milwaukee is in like a year or two when they don't have Brook Lopez anymore, or like finding some more help for Chris Middleton. Like they just got to restock the team.
And yeah, but for now, take advantage while you can and see if you get that second ring under your belt.
I mean, there's people who are arguing that the Bucks are going to have both the Defensive Player of the Year and Giannis. Like, so I think that's pretty, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. The East really isn't that going to be that entertaining for the first round, mostly because Milwaukee's probably just going to obliterate whoever they play. Especially if Atlanta somehow makes it into the 8th seed, they're going to get swept.
Right.
And then maybe Toronto and Chicago get one, but that's it. They're going to get walloped. And then other than the Boston series and then the Knicks series, there's not really much else in the East. It's going to be pretty easy.
Yes, that's exactly why I saved the Western Conference for the second half of this, save best for last. And I'm really excited to first talk about this matchup. The darlings of the NBA, for the first time since 2006, we're going to see the Sacramento Kings play in the postseason. With what Mike Brown has done with players like Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, it's pretty fantastic. And who are they going up against? None other than your reigning NBA champions, the Golden State Warriors. Talk to me about this magic, guys. Where do you see this going?
Oh, I mean, I'll give a little bit of my insight. I mean, to be honest with you, the Kings have been a great story. Mike Brown should be the coach of the year. But this is a terrible matchup for the Kings. They're a run and gun team. They're averaging 120 points a game, but you're also playing probably the greatest run and gun team ever in the history of the NBA in the Golden State Warriors, I just saw a statistic recently. Klay Thompson, Steph, and Jordan Poole had the most 3-pointers combined in the history of the NBA in a single season this year. So I think if there's one team you didn't want to play that plays exactly like them, it's going to be the Golden State Warriors. And I personally do not think, even right now, on as long as they've been doing this, I do not think there's a team that can honestly shoot like Steph, Clay, and Jordan Poole and those boys on the Showtime Warriors. I think this is a terrible matchup for the Kings, and I feel like this is one where the Golden State Warriors are gonna win this in 6. Like I think it's a terrible matchup for the Kings. I don't feel like they match up pretty well. They're matching up literally. It's the same style of play. If you want to beat the Warriors at their game, go right ahead. But I mean, I'm just going off previous history and what they've done this season and how they've been able to. They were 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're catching fire towards the end of the year. I think this is a roaring freight train, and I wouldn't want to be playing these guys in the playoffs right now if I would. Anyone. I mean, I still have a hard time picking against them to not make it come out of the West, to be honest. But I mean, that's just my take. I feel like the Warriors are going to win this series in 6. I'll let you guys chime in on that, but that's just my take on this. You have a team averaging 118.9, and then another team averaging 120, and they're both pretty crappy defensively. But because their styles of play, it doesn't really matter. But you're going to get a lot of points in this series. The Kings and the Clippers played the highest scoring game ever in NBA history earlier this year. I want to say, what was it, like 170 to like?
It was like 175 to 171.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing games in the 130s and 140s in this series in terms of the Kings and the Warriors.
Yeah, this is like he said it. This is the worst match. Actually, the Lakers would have been just as bad a matchup for them. But God, this is a fun Kings team. They can they could get better. Keegan Murray will be better. They have the ability to trade some guys and shore up some more stuff. They had a good year from Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. It was a fun team. And, welcome to the playoffs. It's time you got to take your lumps. So we'll see. They got a good fun. It's a good story. That's really all there is to it.
It's funny because, I mean, this just shows the underlying theme, and one of the things people talk about the NBA, the seeding really mattered, and this is a 3 seed against a 6 seed, but it seems that the Warriors are overwhelming favorites despite that, and things just completely change. Teams play more fundamental basketball. They say that's when defense comes in, but I'm really interested in what you guys think of that and the seeding here, despite what's going on.
I think it's going to be a good series. Like, I actually do think it will go 6 and 7. I just feel like this slightly in the series.
Yeah, and I do too. I do think Golden State's winning it too, but it's just funny how this all pans out. And what does seeding matter?
What we could see in this series is you're going to see a potential superstar in Sabonis come out. Like, you're going to see that. Because Sabonis is a guy that's gone under the radar playing for Sacramento. He's not a guy who gets a lot of attention. Him and De'Aaron Fox have not got a ton of attention this year. So you're going to see how really good these are. I mean, it's going to be an exciting series to watch. Like, if they can beat Golden State, I mean, watch out for them.
Imagine.
Like, no, if they can, I mean, you're going to see the kind of these two guys come into the forefront of NBA superstar conversations, because Sabonis has been incredible with the Kings. Kind of, he's not quite like, I mean, the Kings have had European stars in the past. Vlad Divac played for them for a while.
Peja Stojakovic.
Even Peja Stojakovic. Like, they've done very well with European players. The Kings in the past. So it'd be nice. It would be cool to see Sabonis be that next guy for them.
Yeah, and as Box said, this is just as Faces said, this is just a great story. Well, it's a lot of fun, and I do want to see them make a push at least. I mean, another crazy fact: this past weekend, the Kings were on ABC on a primetime network for the first time since 2007, and here we are now.
I mean, yeah, they haven't been really, really good since.
Like, who is a Kings fan besides Hassan Majan? Like, nobody.
No, and it's too bad, because when they had Bibby and they had Chris Webber, like, they were a pretty big deal when they had those guys. Peja Stojakovic, like you said.
And the ref screwed them against Kobe and Shaq.
But yeah, they should have won that series. So, like, they've had a lot of great players. They've had some Good players. It's nice to
They've
see
been
them
in the
finally,
league. The franchise has been around for a long time, but
it's
you
nice
know,
to see them finally getting back to because they had the longest playoff streak in sports.
yeah.
We're not talking about who has the longest one now because I don't even. That's a whole nother day. But it's but
Rhymes
it's
with
nice to see
bets.
them work it out.
All right. So we also have the Suns and the Clippers going at it. You know, this would be a much more interesting series if both teams are fully healthy, but no Paul George, but this Clipper team, can they make a push against the Suns team? And can the Suns, if they have their core four all meshing well together and being able to play on the floor at the same time, can they start a deep run and now that you have Kevin Durant on your team?
Yeah, I mean, look, it depends on which is very like Paul George. They need him because they need that other wing guy. Um, they need that. Look, I very much want to see. We're gonna get that Westbrook game where he either torpedoes his team by going like 4 for 26, or he goes like for 45, 15, 12, and wins some game. Then we're gonna get one of those two games, probably both. It depends on when Paul George comes back. They need that other wing. And it depends on health. Like if Phoenix is healthy, they're gonna win. They're just better. They just have more firepower. I don't know. I like this. We said this when we talked about it on the trade deadline. On paper, if they're healthy, Phoenix is probably going to win the title. It's a shitty way for them to win the title. It doesn't feel right for this team to win the title this year. I have no idea what this is going to be a very interesting series. Just a lot of animosity here.
Right.
I mean, it's gonna be interesting. You're gonna see Westbrook Durant. That's gonna be a very interesting matchup. To be honest with you, Durant is probably the greatest player the game has ever seen besides LeBron in this generation. I think I really honestly believe that. If there's not a guy, if there's not a guy like LeBron, Durant would be my number two, like for this generation. So I think he does need to add another chip, not with the Warriors, to really cement his legacy. That being said, if Paul George is healthy and he comes back if he can get back by game 2, I think there's a legitimate chance the Clippers are going to win the series. I have said it all year. I actually had the Clippers coming out of the West to begin the season, and I'm going to stick with that for now. Based off my previous prediction, I'm not going to renege on that. So I have the Clippers winning this series. Right now, I would probably say yes. What he said, that the Suns do have more star power, but I actually like the Clippers' depth. I do. I think it really depends on their health. I mean, this is a tough series to predict because the Suns do have the best player when fully firing and healthy. Kevin Durant's the best player on the planet. I would say probably him and LeBron are the two best players on the planet from what they've done as their careers and what they can do. So it's going to be very interesting to see this series play out. I do, but I think it's going to be very interesting. I think what really, I don't know. It's really hard for me to say this series. I think what's also going to kind of sway this series is if Devin Booker plays up to a standard, and if Booker and Durant, like I said, I agree with his take that they have more star power with the Suns. But I mean, just my previous prediction, I kind of have to take the Warriors because I did predict them to make the finals, so I'm going to stick with that. But I mean, just going off right now, the smart move would probably be to pick the Suns in the series. But if Paul George is healthy and he comes back in a reasonable time, that could sway the prediction a little bit. But I mean, it really depends on Paul George's health and if he can come back earlier than anticipated in this series.
All right. Now, the 1 and 2 seeds here, Grizzlies and the Nuggets waiting on their opponents. Do we see any of these two teams making a push? Especially, we did hit on the Grizzlies earlier, and their ceiling and what they could do and who they're missing and how they can make up for it. But we should really hit a lot on the Nuggets too as a number 1 seed. Do you think they are justified as a number 1 seed? And with their big three and Murray, Jokic, and Porter, Michael Porter Williams, and do we think this is going to be good?
The
They're
playoffs.
going to win the first round. Like, look, the problem with this Denver team is they're so good offensively, they just can't guard anybody. Like who is the best defender on this team? Is it Bruce Brown? Is it maybe Aaron Gordon? Like Mike Porter Jr. can't guard anybody. Like Jokic, like, is so fucking good offensively, but the dude just isn't athletically built enough to be like a drop center. So it's hard for him. And it's a weird mixture for this team. They really need like that one wing guy. And a lot of that like hurts the fact that they don't have a guy who can guard on the wings or at the point of attack. So it does drag down their numbers to make them work worse. But their offense is so freaking good. They're just going to obliterate whoever they play. I think it would be more fun for them to play the Thunder because the Thunder have, more fun team. But, they're gonna roll through this first round.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. They're going to roll through this first round. Like I said, I agree with your take on the fact that they don't necessarily have that wing dependence. I mean, maybe if you really want to go there, maybe Caldwell Pope, but I don't love him personally as a wing defender. They could use another wing guy. That being said, there is a lot of options they have on the scoring side of the ball. And Jokic is, like I said, another guy who really needs to prove something in this series, in this playoff series. He's a guy who could be a three-time straight MVP winner. So I feel like we want to see how great he is. This would be the time that Jokic proves his worth. And another guy who Mike Malone too, the coach, hasn't gotten past another guy who hasn't got past Golden State. So, but the playoffs right now is about the team that's going in hot and who can really get hot in just in a snap of a finger. I don't necessarily think the Nuggets are that team that has the scoring power necessarily and the 3-point shooting ability quite like the Warriors and other teams in the West right now. So it's going to be hard. You need in a playoff series, you need guys who can, score at will. I don't necessarily know that even right now that the Nuggets have the firepower that the Kings or the Kings, Clippers, Suns, or the Warriors have. I don't necessarily know about that, and it also is about which team is going into the playoffs and the hottest. And right now, the other teams in the West are much hotter, and I feel like playing a little bit better at the moment than the Nuggets are. But I do think they're going to win this first round series. But I don't necessarily think that 4 or 5 matchup is very favorable for them as the number 1 seed going if they get past the first round. So that's my take on it. But we'll see. Jokic has to prove his worth as this elite player, and he's been he's a guy that people, based off the back-to-back MVPs, would say is an elite player, but until he gets sustained success in the playoffs, nobody's going to really take him all that seriously. So there's a lot of pressure on him. There's a lot of pressure on Mike Malone. So we'll see. We'll see if they can fulfill the prophecies that they have and the pressure they have on their shoulders.
I do think Denver makes some noise if they can win a couple of rounds here. I'd like to see what they do, and they can't say that injuries are an excuse at this point. They really can't.
It's just the West this year is so wide open, so it's like this is anyone's game this year.
Yeah, that's why does the seeding really matter at the end of the day?
No, this year and last year the playoffs have been very open.
I think so too. So
we said that last year, and then the Warriors ended up winning again. So it's until they lose, the safe bet would probably be to bet on the Warriors until someone beats them.
And remember, the last year's playoffs were tough to watch. There was no real close games, no classic series. And that's all I hope with this as a whole, that the postseason just is way more competitive.
I mean, the last year that the Warriors only won 51 games and steamed their way to the title. This year they won 44, but you could argue that the East was closer because last year you had the Suns win 64 games. And the problem when you look at the West, it's that Which team, honestly, can you say in the playoffs really got better than it did last year?
Just on paper, the
Yeah.
Suns, but
And the Nuggets
Yeah, but the
and
Suns won 64 games
the
last year. They
Lakers.
won 40. They won.
Yeah, but on paper they're better than this team than they were last year.
I wouldn't say the Clippers are any better. Maybe the Nuggets, if we want to go there. The Grizzlies, I would say, were better last
Yes,
year.
the Nuggets are better by the sheer fact that they added Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back. Yes, those are better. They're a better team than they were last year. But like, there's more parity. We haven't seen parity like this in probably since 2015.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Because
a ton of parity this year because the third seed and the sixth seed are only separated by 4 games. So, yeah.
funny how it all plays out. So why don't we make those future picks once and for all? Putting it on camera. Who do you think is coming out of the East? Who's coming out of the West? Who's going to be your NBA Finals champion? And with me, I say the Warriors, no matter where you're going to put them, they still have their core. They still can win series. And as long as Steve Kerr is the coach and leading them, he's going to keep continuing his series streak. What's it like? It's at least over 20, 21, 22 straight playoff series that he's won. Something like that. But yeah, this is the Warriors going to continue being the Warriors. They're coming out of the West. And the East, I think the Bucks are going to be sound. They're going to have everything together. Giannis being Giannis, the return of Chris Middleton. And as Hayden said, very good. They have the defensive player of the year on, and that the team is an amazing defensive team. And as long as things pan out there, it's going to be an interesting Bucks and Warriors series.
I mean, I'm gonna
Excuse me. And I think that the Bucks are actually going to be the ones to throw the Warriors here. The Bucks are going to win a 7-game series and win their second title in 3 years.
I'll give my pick. I feel like if the Clippers somehow win this series versus the Suns, that's my pick to the finals. I've said it. I said that at the beginning of the season, and I'm gonna say it now. I am going to take a Clippers Bucks finals with the Bucks winning it all. I'm not confident in that pick necessarily right now with the Clippers, but I did have them at the beginning of the season, and now that they are in the top 5 teams, if they can somehow get past the Suns, that's the team I feel like will represent the Western Conference in the finals. I think it will be a Clippers Warriors conference finals. But I have the Clippers taking that.
yeah, I
But
have.
I mean, if I
Nuggets.
could change my prediction, I would probably take the Warriors. But I mean, I'm gonna continue. I'm going to keep my original prediction.
Yeah, I got Nuggets, Bucks. The Bucks winning. I think the Bucks. It doesn't. I don't think it matters. The Bucks are going to win either way. And then I don't think it matters who comes out of the West. I think the Bucks are just going to win.
All right. Good stuff, gentlemen. Well, that'll wrap this up, this playoff preview. Let us begin our journey to the NBA Finals. I'll talk with you guys after the conference. Sorry. I will talk with you guys after the quarterfinals are done in the first round, and then we can now have a better grasp of where things are going, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So thanks again to Hayden Adler. Check him out, the Settle Score podcast on Spotify. Check out Fresh Faces New Ideas on Twitch and all social platforms there. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. All right.